It is not outside of God's control. None of it is. He's in complete control. So tonight we wanted to tell you about a time in history that was actually one of the darkest times in history that I have personally found. This was the time of the Bubonic Plague, the Black Death. Aren't you thankful, Christian, that you are not living in the Black Death? This was during the time of the 1350s. And for anyone who's ever studied history, you could say, amen, sister. We do not want to be a part of that time in history. I have often thought I could live in any time of history. Like I would just survive and I would thrive and I would love it. And like whatever it was, I would fully embrace it and love it. I take that back. Like I studied up on the 1350s and heck no. It's like a nightmare. So lots and lots of people unfortunately just passed away during that time. But that is when like the gospel was thriving at the same time, because anytime there is resistance, anytime there's oppression, anytime there's discouragement, there is room for hope. And what do people need most in darkness? They need a light. And so we can shine bright in the darkness. Well, these people, these Christians, they were shining bright in the darkness, even to their Pharisaic brothers and sisters who kind of were just very legalistic, and some of them even tried to find scapegoats for why this plague was happening. They had no idea. For like 200 years, they had no idea what was causing 1 out of 3 people to die. They had no idea. This was a plague that lasted for 8 years. It was from 1846 to 1853. And there were 2 variants for this plague. One of them was the bubonic plague, and one of them was the pneumonic bubonic plague. So the first one, they had no idea how this even happened. They had no idea. They thought maybe spirits were being blown on the wind. Like they just had no idea. So they didn't go outside. They locked themselves inside. Some people got bricked up into their homes if they even caught wind that they had it. And then other people, just because they were associated with them, and you know what I'm talking about, maybe if you've been around someone with something and they would just automatically say, well, that person was with that person 2 days ago, so they must have it too. So we're bricking them in too. So people would die that didn't even have it because people were afraid. It was a very, very, very strong season of death and gloom. It was horrible, like horrific times in the world. So 200 million people died from the bubonic plague. Can you even fathom that number? 200 million people died of that. Yes, almost like these days as far as fear. Yeah. But the numbers definitely don't add up. Like we're talking about thousands versus 200 million, but over the course of 8 years. It was a very, very, very tragic time. You can look up on online. They have a really cool, I can even send it to you if you want to. There's like a timeline of plagues that have hit the world, like from the very first to right now. And it's really cool to see the size of them in comparison too, but it just makes you so thankful that we were not going through that. 1 out of 3 people didn't just catch it. 1 out of 3 died from it. So it was very, very hard time. So the bubonic plague, why did they call it the bubonic plague? Well, the bubonic plague ended up being, all of them, if you do any research on plagues, it's really kind of interesting that a lot of them come from Asia. And it's not just because they've created them in labs, guys, because back in the 1350s, there weren't labs to create viruses. I'm not saying that's not what happened now. I have no idea. But during that time and moving forward, a lot of them come from Asia. And the reason is because they live in very tight-knit communities, very, very tight-knit communities. They have a lot of rodents, like from bats to mice to rats. There's lots of rodents. And we see that too in our own cities in America. There's lots of rodents in cities because you don't have those larger animals that are the predators taking care of them. So out here, even at our house, we have wild dogs, we have coyotes, you know, there's owls, there's eagles, there's hawks, like all of those kinds of animals take care of little animals. They feed off of them. Well, in really small area, like dwelling spaces, like big cities where people are stacked up on each other 14 stories high, even in the 1350s, they had homes were 14 stories high. It was a feasting ground for disease. And so what was happening, China has always been a center for trade. And so how this particular disease had been spread was through one rodent being infected with some kind of, well, it was the disease, the bubonic plague, and he spread a flea bite from that rat to more rats and people. And so the people were getting bitten by these fleas that had the plague. And so then they would get traveled on the silk trade routes or any kind of trade routes by ship, by vessel, by cart, by horse, like any way that they traded. They said the bubonic plague traveled about 2.5 miles a day. And so over the course of a couple of years, it finally would reach Europe. And so Europe seemed to be the second greatest hotspot for the bubonic plague. And when people would get it, they would get these boobles. That's what they called them, boobles, like bubble. And the boobles, they would infect the lymph nodes of the lymphatic system. And when that happened, it would take about 1 to 2 days for these boobles to be filled with pus and inflammation. Sometimes they would start as small as a pea, like a little tiny pea, and you would just feel it. They said when you first got it, it felt like the flu was coming on. You just had aches and pains, in your muscles. You would have a fever. You would have a little cough and a runny nose, but you just felt awful. So it was the onset of flu-like symptoms. And then you would get these little nodules in your lymph nodes that felt like little peas, but they would grow bigger and bigger and bigger until it was like a bubble, like underneath the skin. It was very, very painful. And really the only way to get over the bubonic plague was to drain those. But during that time, they had no way of sanitizing their hands. They didn't understand about germs and bacteria, good or bad bacteria. They truly thought things were done by spirits. So there was a spirit that would come in, but it wasn't. It was the bacteria that would come in on the fleas, and they would get bit by the fleas. They would get the bubonic plague. Now, if you had the bubonic plague, it could transfer into the pneumonic bubonic plague if it got into your lungs and you got, pneumonia. And so at that point, people would catch it through a cough. And then they would show symptoms of it within a day or two. But if you had the bubonic plague, just the standard one with the boobles on you, you had a 50% survival rate. If you got the pneumonic bubonic plague, you had a 95% chance that you were going to die. So you did not want to breathe that in, because 5% chance that you were going to survive that. They did have one more type. It was the third type of the bubonic plague, and it was like sudden death. You could catch it and within 14 hours be dead. It was very deadly. There was a 0% chance of surviving that particular strand of the bubonic plague. And so even to this day, if you have ancestors that lived and survived through the bubonic plague, there's about 10% of the European population that this kind of falls within. About 10% of Europeans, they can trace their lineage to the bubonic plague, like within their family tree. And they actually have like one of the strongest gene pools as far as their immune system. Like HIV doesn't even affect them. Like they can be around it and not even be affected by it. That is strength. That is strength. So when you think about what was God doing during that time, what was he doing? He was strengthening his people. He was strengthening them for so much more, even for one of the most deadly times that we know. Like you think HIV and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't even want to be around that. Like that was a big deal for a long time. You need to take it. I'm sorry. He's so upset. He loves his mama at nighttime. So, guys, we never know why God is strengthening our muscles in our heart, in our faith, but we know that when we put our hope and trust in Him, that it's for our good and it's for His glory. And it may be for people way down in your gene pool that you are never going to meet this side of heaven, you know, but you never know what He's up to. But I think that's amazing. Even to this day, 10% of Europeans are immune to HIV because their ancestors survived the bubonic plague. So I'm going to head this over to Haley so she can share a little bit more about something else that came out of the bubonic plague.
All right, so that was so awesome. So what I want to share with you guys is that during this time, there was actually like a remnant of what they had they had to just basically throw out all of the belongings of all of the people that were dying from these plagues, and they were just kind of tossing everything out, and nobody could touch it or anything like that. And well, they had these what they called thieves come into those areas and take all of the belongings and like all the valuable possessions during that time. And so the authorities during that time period started catching on, and they were just like, okay, so why are you not getting sick from touching this? Because it was so deadly. Like even touching the clothing on it from these people, you could catch it. And so these police back then were just like, okay, if they took them into custody, and then they ended up saying, hey, we'll let you go if you give us the recipe. Well, these, the remnant of people that were going to the graves of the dead and the dying were, they were sons of apothecaries. And I believe I'm saying that right. I always kind of like butcher that word. But anyways, so what they were doing is they learned how to do herbs and how to do basically what we would call holistic medicine back then. And so they had their mask back then. And what they were doing is they were putting herbs in their mask. And they had herbs like rosemary. They had herbs like clove, lemon, cinnamon bark, and so those were the main ones. And so the amazing thing is that the founder of Young Living actually found that the history books on that and the recipe, and made it into what we have now. But the cool thing about that is he actually created it with another oil added into it, which is eucalyptus radiata, which is a really good respiratory respiratory support oil. So this is my little like travel on the go. I take it everywhere with me. My kids call it soap. So we just spray our hands, and this is like, we don't use like regular hand sanitizer, any soap or anything like that. But I found this and I wanted to share this with you. This gives me physical hope, like God, just like a tool that He gives our family to like not to protect ourselves whenever we're out. So this I found really interesting that the Weber State University during 1997 demonstrated killing power of the amazing what we know as Thieves oil against airborne microorganisms. So within 10 minutes it was killing off airborne organisms in the air. And so by just diffusing Thieves, I mean, I just think that's amazing. So anyways, to me, what I want to share with you guys is the solution with all the, where we can get like fear and everything like that. That's what's going on now. And even for me, I know having a newborn during like cold and flu season, I was really like, oh my gosh, like just the inconvenience of like our family of 5 being sick. We had someone come into our house, and she found out the next day that she had a really bad case of the flu, and she was in our house for a pretty long, lengthy period of time. And none of us got it when we had just been diffusing Thieves. And it was just like, you know, putting this on our hands and all that kind of stuff. So it was a really good, just like cleaning our air and cleaning our counters and all that kind of stuff. But so that's something that we use as a solution, a natural solution that doesn't hurt our bodies when we're cleaning our counters, when we're cleaning our hands at the grocery store, we're wiping down our carts. So I want to show you something that you can do when you have your own Thieves. So you can use the oil too. If you just got your starter kit, or if you're getting your starter kit, you can actually just grab you're going to get a little bottle. And then, so if you reuse this bottle, or I know a lot of people will grab like the glass bottles from like Amazon, but you can just grab, I mean, if you have your Thieves oil, you can do the oil and just put a couple drops, put like 20 drops in your glass amber spray bottle, and then fill the rest up with witch hazel and water. I like to do like half and half, and then use that. If you want to refill like your on the go Thieves that came in your kit, you can just take your Thieves household cleaner. This is the kind that I do, and every time this is empty, I just take half of this, or about a fourth of this, because it's so heavily concentrated. I just take about a fourth of this and fill it up in my little spray bottle, and then I fill the rest with water, and I feel super confident with it. Like, I don't feel like I have to go and wash my hands afterwards because of the antibacterial that it is. Thieves is it's an antibacterial. It's a hold on, let me read it to you. It's an antibacterial, antiseptic, and antiviral, and it's an anti-infectious essential oil. So I'm going to just having this in the air and just wiping down our counters every time we're putting that in our bodies or around our bodies. We're boosting our immune systems. We're boosting our respiratory system. We're putting good stuff in our bodies. So I'm going to pass it back to Stephanie, and she's going to share some more things with you.
Thank you so much, Haley. So we have like very similar stories too, as far as like diffusing Thieves in our home. I'm gonna share this story. This is someone else's story, but a few months ago, one of my friends, and some of you that are local know her, her name is Vicki LeBlanc. She does a lot of restoration furniture in our area. And I was over there today picking up a few new pieces that she's been working on for us. And she said to me, Stephanie, you're going to think I am a nut, but I just keep telling people about how when I was very, 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 very sick at the beginning of February, how I had never been so sick in my life. And you came over, broke your baby quarantine. I had just had a baby, and I was like, I'm not leaving the house. It's cold and flu season. I'm not leaving the house for like 10 weeks. I didn't go to church. Like, I just joined online. Who knew we were all going to be in quarantine like a month later? I don't know if I would have done that. But either way, I went and dropped off a diffuser and some Thieves with peppermint to my friend because I thought she had the flu. Well, she got better immediately after being so sick. Well, later she found out that she had antibodies in their system for something else. And that was the thing that helped her feel so much better. She also went to the doctor, and he gave her some amoxicillin. He didn't know what it was that she had at the time. So she was like, me diffusing that coupled with what the doctor did, I know helped me so much. She was like, I don't even know if the other one helped me at all. But when I was diffusing that at nighttime by my bed, I felt so much better the next day. She was like, it was amazing. She was like, I just tell everyone, this story because it's helped me so much. Her daughter's also a nurse, and she was like, yes, because she ended up getting it too, and she had antibodies. So anyways, long story short, she really wanted me to share that with you guys tonight. She was hoping to be on the call. But we have had tummy bugs go through our house before with like watching kids at our home, and we didn't know that they had the tummy bug until they were with us all day long, and then they start throwing up, and I'm like, oh great, now we're all gonna get the tummy bug. Well, I just happened to have thieves diffusing in my home, and guess what? We never got the tummy bug. And I know Lacey was on here a little bit ago. She was actually watching her kid. And that was the story. And they ended up having the tummy bug for like 3 or 4 days. And we never got it. And I was like, hands in the puke. Like, this was years ago. But that's just the real story. I'm giving you real names because these are real stories that happen. And so it works. It really, really, really works. And I was sharing, well, let me back up one more time. So here's the deal with the Thieves story. It's called, like, they originally called it for Thieves vinegar. They didn't understand how it warded off these evil spirits, but it did. And so that's why the thieves, the sons of the apothecary, they were able to get a more lenient sentence because they never got it. And they were like, how are you guys not getting this? You're around it. You're touching the bodies. They didn't know what to do with all these bodies. They had so many bodies, dead corpses laying around. They couldn't get rid of them fast enough. So they started throwing them into the river. That's not a good idea. Then it contaminated their drinking supply. More people are getting it. They had no idea what to do with them. So that's why they ended up doing mass graves. They did them at cathedrals. They did them wherever they could. They were running out of room. 200 million people died. It was not uncommon for one person to be left in someone's whole entire family and the rest of them died. And how do you even move forward with that when it can happen in 14 hours or 7 days? You have to attend to your loved one. No one else is going to do it. I kind of laugh with some of the things that I read because I was like, Eric, how do they know there was no one to bake the bread? Like, everyone bakes bread back then. Like, you just bake your own bread. But that was one of the stats. It was like, there was no one to bake the bread. And I was like, but everyone made their own bread. Like, that would be today. The bread stores closed. Publix bakeries closed. But I just thought that was kind of funny. Funny facts that you find, right? But maybe there was, like, someone notated it somewhere that the baker died or the bakery was closed, or I don't know. But there was no one to bake the bread. There was no one to bury the people. They just had mass graves. It was a horrific time in history. But here is where good news started. So these thieves, they were stealing from these people. It was just a time where people would go into people's homes and do whatever they wanted to. When homes were left to themselves because the people had died, they would just go in and take their things. You know, they would go to the graves and they would take the things from the people. They were not afraid because they knew that they had things that could help them from these evil spirits that were going around, right? The bacteria, the germs, the virus. And so word got out like word does. Word spreads fast like wildfire when it's hope and it's light in the darkness. And so priests started putting up this recipe for 4 thieves vinegar, and they would put them on the outside of the church door. Now, back in these times, they put a lot of stuff on the church door. Like, it was like the billboard for times. If you've studied anything about the Reformation, you know that Calvin also, he put his 95 Theses, he nailed it to the front of the church doors. The church door was the place to get the news. And so the priests, they would nail on the outside of the door this 4 thieves vinegar. It was the recipe. And they said, this will help protect you from whatever is killing everybody. You need to make it. Here is the recipe. So that is the recipe that Gary Young used. And then, like Haley said, he added in the eucalyptus radiata. And so whatever these evil ailments are around us, whatever it is, anytime, you're going to have a strengthened immune system. And what I like to really share about it is this. Your immune system is being hit by things all day long. It could be sadness. It could be grief. It could be the way we eat. It could be the chemicals that we're around, toxic exposure to air fresheners, to, you know, fragranted laundry detergent, dryer sheets, candles, Febreze, plugins, all the things. Those things, if they are not natural, they are not fresh out of the ground or even came from the ground without pesticides, they're not good for us. They weaken our immune system. That's just the bottom line. It happens. That's what it is. And so if you could walk around and have a 100% full battery on your phone all the time, think of your immune system as your phone battery. If you could walk around with your battery at 100% all the time, wouldn't you do it? I would. Do I want to walk around like every other American with 5 and 10% immune system? I don't think so, sister. I want to go for the 100 every single time. So I'm going to keep some Thieves going in my house. And I might get a little sniffle here and there, but guess what? My body's going to win because God created us to win. He created us to heal our bodies through the body that he gave us. So diffuse some Thieves in your house. Reed, or Cooper, I always call him Reed. Cooper, you're pulling my hair. Okay, so if you don't have a membership to Young Living yet, there are 2 ways to get started. I'm going to tell you this because I don't want you getting your oils off of Amazon or eBay. You need to get them straight from the source. You can get a wholesale account with Young Living and get 24% off, which helps you have more bang for your buck. It also allows you to join an amazing program called Essential Rewards, and you're gonna wanna do that because the more you can get oils into your home and in your lifestyle, the healthier you're gonna be. It's keeping that battery at 100% all the time. So you can join with a membership. You can do that either with a basic starter kit. It's $35 and you get some really cool things in the mail with it, like a Stress Away, a bottle of Stress Away, because hello stress. Hello Berkey that crashed on my floor and flooded my kitchen like an hour ago. Stress is real, and stress is one of the things that attacks our immune system. So when you can bounce right back, yes, I want to do that. I want to keep my immune system and my heart strong because God has more for me to do than clean up spilt water in the kitchen. Like, my life is more valuable to him than just cleaning up a few messes all day long. He has a greater purpose for me and for you. And it's not just being taken back from the cares of the world. Like, whatever happens, there is so much more for us to do. So let's find out what that purpose is and shine bright for him. So I'm sorry, I kind of went on my little tangent there, but that is the basic and it's $35. The other one that I love, well, there's 2 more. There's actually a Thieves starter kit. And since we're talking about Thieves tonight, I think that's a great one. I don't really remember the price point on that one. Maybe someone else does, but they have a Thieves starter kit, which is really nice. So you get the whole lineup of Thieves. With that one. And then there's also the oil starter kit, which I love because who doesn't love easy buttons with oils? And you get a diffuser to diffuse your Thieves in your house with. That one's $165. Thank you, Angelica. $118 is a Thieves kit. Thank you so much, or something like that. Anyways, do that. One of those if you haven't already gotten started. I'm sorry. Do you want to hold this? And then join Essential Rewards because that will really help you have the most of this lifestyle. You don't want to just have some oils in a box in your home. You want to use them every single day because that's how you stay above the wellness line. That's how you keep your battery at 100% all the time, and you don't let it get down below where it doesn't need to be. There's just no reason for it. When you can start eliminating toxins and toxic products in your home, I'm sorry, my light went out. We want to do it from household cleaners to toothpaste to shampoo. All those things make a big difference when it comes to our immune system. Okay, guys, I'm going to hand this back to Haley. She has, I think she's going to announce our next class, which is next week. And also, Haley's going to do our devotion tonight.
Yay, thank you. Okay, so our next class is for this week is Saturday at 10 a.m. If you want to come back, you'll get punch on your punch card. If you bring friends, let us know. You'll get punches on your punch card. And then next week is going to be about a cleanse, like a full body cleanse. So we're going to give you some good tips on how to do a full body cleanse because you can get all of the safe natural products in your home, but if your body is still at 50%, it's really not going to be as effective as it could be. And I heard somebody say last week, it's like having like our life is like a garden. And like if we leave our physical body like just kind of in shambles, it's like you have like your zucchini is like has like a bunch of weeds in it. So we got to be tending to our garden in this area and taking care of ourselves. So full body detox is next week. So what I want to share with you guys is a devotion. I was just like, okay, Lord, like, what do you want to share? What do you want me to share with them? And he just led me to Exodus 3. And we named this class Light in the Darkness because, just for the time period and just really what God is doing in this time and like how people can shine so bright during this, I think the darkest time that we've ever lived in. I have not lived, I mean, I'm only 29, but I'm like, ooh, this is a pretty like intense time to be living in. But what a great time to be alive and a time we can really shine bright. So he led me to Exodus 3. And it was when Moses was just tending to his father-in-law's, his fields, his sheep, his doing the mundane, doing what we would be doing now, which is, the sometimes like quarantine, sometimes going to the grocery store, just doing the mundane things. And during that time, he was marked by an experience with the Lord, within the burning bush, with the burning bush experience. And the Lord, I felt like, the Lord was just speaking to me in the light that was coming from that, and how really, I mean, if you hear the words from the Lord, it's like your soul lights up. Like you're not the same, and you can't help but like go and share that with other people. So during this time, I just wanted to encourage you that we can have that same experience with the Lord, and that you're meant to have that experience with him, and that it's not just for you. When Moses he left that experience, it was to free a nation, and that's what God called him to do. So he had bumps in the road, but he was still called to do save the nation of Israel, so from Pharaoh. So you in your sphere of influence are called to free people. You're called to do hard things, but it's all for Jesus and to shine bright for him. So I hope that encourages you, and whatever he's called you to, just shine bright for him.
Thank you so much, Haley. That was so good. That's something I tell my kids all the time. You were created to do hard things. Like, we were not meant to just be here and have easy button life all the time. Yes, you can have that. And I love that if you're a believer, you get the Holy Spirit, and then you've got the Word, and it gives us strength to face each day. And we can face tomorrow, with gladness and excitement, and knowing that we are not on our own. And that's like the beauty of the church, is that we're here to support each other, right? And so you're not meant to be an island unto yourself. You're supposed to be with other people. And that's also the beauty too of Young Living, is that you have like a community that loves you and supports you and helps you, so you're not on your own. So it's a beautiful thing, and we are able to do more when we have each other, and we have the resources and tools that God gave us in our toolbox to do the hard things. I know before even like Young Living was in my life, we had a lot of toxic burden in our home and our lives. Life was hard. I had Jesus, and I was in his word all the time, but it was just still hard. Like, I just struggled with depression. I struggled with anxiety. I struggled with all the things. Oh, baby. And I don't think I could have faced these days without things like Believe oil. I love this stuff. I feel like I could drink it all the time. It's just so good. Who has Believe at their house? 1, 2, 3, 4. Y'all, I know Kelly has some. I don't see your screen on. Guys, this is awesome. I love this. I put this in the front of my neck every day. Hold on a second.
What is it? I'm sorry. What is it? I couldn't hear.
It's Believe, the oil Believe. It's
incredible. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Go ahead and get this on your next TR if you don't have this. This is like a one amazing powerhouse oil.
What is it for?
It's it's for helping you to do big things. It's helping you to do hard things. It's incredible. I don't know if all of you guys know about Diamond Bound, but it's a huge leadership basic like business training event that our friend Jordan puts on every year for Young Living. And she hosted, I think it was the third one. Thousands of people were there. She has 8 children. She's a homeschool mom. She has other businesses. And she planned that whole thing pretty much on her own with Believe, oil and Clarity and Nitro. And so when she announced that at Diamond Bound a few years ago, Young Living sold out of Believe. Like, because they're like, oh my goodness, we always wonder how you're able to do so much. Clean eating, lots of oils being diffused, clean house, toxic wise, the products, and then Believe oil, and then she used Clarity. So I use that all the time, and this thing's amazing. So if you're having hard days, I would really recommend you get that. There's also a really great oil in the starter kit called Valor, which is Haley's favorite. I like to put that on the top of my shoulders, and if you have like a desk reference book, this is the first edition desk reference, but if you have any of them, they recommend putting Valor on the tops of your shoulders for like emotional reset. So I do that with my kids because kids go through so much, and sometimes they don't have the words to say, I've had a bad day, I need help. It's, Mommy, can you hug me? Mommy, can you hold me? Mommy, can you play with me? That's what their bad days look like, So put some Valor on the tops of their shoulders. They can't communicate. I'm so sorry. He's beating on a board over here. They can't communicate that they're having a hard day, or they've had a hard week. If you had something just so small as a drop of oil that you could put on them, you would do it, right? So, all right, guys, that is it. Our next class is Saturday. If you want to come back and bring a friend for some encouragement, just some uplifting, just to know that we were created to do hard things, and God has a purpose for you being here right now in life. And what is it? I really would challenge you to seek that out. Like, Lord, why have you allowed me to be here? So many people are in bondage, and they do not have the freedoms that me and you have. They don't have any freedom. You look at all the sex trafficking going on. You look at all the abortion rates going on. So many people don't get to live, and we do. Why? Why are we allowed to live? Ask God that. That is a big, deep question. Lord, why do you have me here? It's not just for me to sit around and be on Facebook scrolling all day long. It's not for that. It's something so much more than that. So I really would encourage you to seek him and find out why, God, why? Why am I here? Why do I get liberty? Why do I get freedom? Why do I get your grace? And if you don't know him yet, that's a great place to start, is to say, I want to know you, and I want to know you as creator. I want to know you as sustainer. I want to know you as Lord, because Jesus made the way for that. He is our way maker. And then you can go on to the next big question. Why do you have me here? So we can be light in the darkness, even during troubled times. There's a place for it, and we want to leave you guys with that. So we're going to go ahead and pray for you. We do have giveaways on Tuesdays. We will announce on our stories who our giveaway winner is, and so that's just done by the pool of everyone that comes to class. It's an attendance giveaway. So check out our stories on Tuesday. We'll be announcing it then. Let me pray with you and let you guys go and have a good night. Dear God, thank you so much for the opportunity for us to gather together as people. A people part of a generation together that are experiencing a lot of the same things, a lot of the same common grounds. Everyone here with freedom, God, and why did you give us freedom? Lord, I know that it's to glorify you, but with what purpose? aside from that, outside of that, Lord? What do you have for us to do to glorify you the most, God? We find our worth, our value, our satisfaction, our will to live, and our joy in you, God. And we thank you so much for making a way to us through Jesus on the cross, God. I thank you for the forgiveness of sins, and I thank you, Lord, for life, for all the babies, Lord, and all the mamas and the grandmothers and those who want to have children, Lord, that just can't, Lord. You know all the reasons, Lord, and you know all the people. Lord, I thank you for creation, and I thank you for the opportunity to be here. Lord, I pray that you would send these ladies out in peace and joy tonight, that you would bless them, and that your face would shine upon them. In Jesus' name, amen. You guys have an awesome night. My computer died, or I'd send you off with some happy music.
Bye.
You guys have an awesome night. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye. God bless you. Thank you.
Bless you.
Bye.